Welcome to another episode of Real Talk All Sport here in Teddy's Place. Dav Hudson joined with Nathan Blake.
Hey, peeps.
So we're here at Teddy's Place. You can find us on Spotify, TikTok and Instagram with Real Talk All Sport podcast. You can also find us on YouTube as well with Mr. B Productions WAL. And we're going to go straight into the FA Cup because it's something that's come up the last week.
Yeah, it'd be good to turn on the music. I'll be dancing up here.
Yeah, too much. There we go. So we're going to talk about the FA Cup as well. Some games of notice that have been recently been played. You've had Tamworth against Spurs, which we thought possibility of a giant killing.
Almost happened as well. Very, very late on. I think it was the 89th, 90th minute. The lad ducks inside, down the right-hand side, ducks inside, left-footed, shoots, keeper saves it. What a keeper he is, by the way. Spurs new signing, amazing. But staying on the FA Cup, yeah, very fortunate. And then obviously went on to win it in extra time. But fair play to Tamworth.
Did you see with Tamworth, the striker who is Bekray Inoru had to get some tape and tie up the goalpost at the start of the game.
That's not league, is it? Yeah. That's proper old school non-league. Yeah.
But otherwise, the game couldn't have gone ahead. But he did it. He was on the shoulders of another player.
But that's why, like, you don't get that anywhere else in the world. Those two levels of opponent going up against each other.
The FA Cup does have its beauty, doesn't it, Nate?
And there's an opening here. Branson, Blake. He could well have locked Liverpool out of the FA Cup.
I mean, don't play that too much because I love a night out in Liverpool. Yeah. Oh, it used to be my favourite place. My man Bears up in Vampire and what was it called? Vampire Lounge was downstairs, and he used to have a club upstairs. Can't remember the name of it, but I'll remember. But I got to go out in Liverpool.
I won't play it too much, I promise. Then you also had...
Mosquito. Mosquito. Anyone used to go to Mosquito back in the day in Liverpool. Bears used to run the living room, Mosquito, and then downstairs to the Vampire Lounge. Class.
And then as well as Tamworth, Spurs 3-0, as you said, 3 goals at the end of the game, really short notice.
Yeah.
Man City against Salford, we thought that could be a possibility because of all the Man United fans who have wanted Salford.
That's like, wow, just getting duffed up by 10 men, 10v1.
8-0.
Yeah.
And one thing was quite nice to see from Man City was a hat-trick from McAtee, who was on loan at Sheffield United not too long ago.
Player.
Really good player, but just it's such a hard team to break into.
Yeah. And you look at like something like Cole Palmer we spoke about just now, and you think like, City are mad letting him go. My mate said to me, they shouldn't have let. I said, but they identified him as a very top quality player, right?
Yeah.
You know, and what is worth FFP, like 40 odd million, I think he went for. Yeah. You know, that's like 100 million. It's like massive to a club. So they identified him. But I think if they could have that decision again, they would probably sell 2 or 3 other players to keep that one player.
And on the danger is with McAtee, because he's a bit younger, still hasn't done that same thing could happen where they look at him go to another good player like Chelsea or some and go, we've done it again.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but you know, it's about for young McAtee, it's about providing that sort of producing those sort of goods. It's the consistency, week in, week out, because I think that's the biggest thing Pep demands, right? Yeah. Week in, week out, because you're a team that's going for a Premier League, so you have to win.
And he's not too dissimilar to Palmer in a sense of he's a right-sided, left-footed player, quite swift, quite graceful, and seems to have a mature head on his shoulders as well.
He reminds me of a Grealish.
Okay, yeah. Keeps that ball nice and close.
Yeah, he reminds me of a Grealish. So he's definitely a top talent. But it's let's see what happens over the next year or two.
The only slight giant killing that we could call it, and I don't know if it's really a giant killing. Plymouth against Brentford.
Yeah, I think that's a giant killing.
You call that class as a giant killing?
Where Plymouth are, where they've been in the
bottom of the Championship.
Yeah, come up from League One, been in League One for many a moon. Come up against Brentford, who you would say now are a fully fledged quality Premier League team, great manager. Got dusted.
Yeah. Morgan Whittaker.
I know you like him, don't you?
I do. And he was a Swan, but I do like him because
You can't have it all.
I know. He has that he just seems like a top player to me. Like, I can't believe. So he was at Swansea. They sold him to Plymouth. And the thing...
Yeah, he didn't produce at Swansea, though, did he?
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing, Dav. I think
a tough
what people got to appreciate as well is, regardless, if you don't produce the goods, you just get moved on, right?
Yeah.
Clubs can't wait for you forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it might have been like he was homesick, he wasn't comfortable, like didn't like the surroundings, maybe didn't get on with the manager, didn't get on with his teammates, maybe just wasn't happy, maybe it just didn't happen for him and he, not through lack of trying. We just don't know.
Don't know why, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that sometimes as a fan, you've seen that good player in him.
Yeah.
And evidently, if they don't perform, you do get sold. That's what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how football works.
Or if you perform well, you get sold.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So you've got to be right in that middle place if you like where you are.
Yeah.
It's quite a tough one as a fan to watch. But then you actually look at Plymouth, and they are bottom of the Championship. They've got Ballymumba, they've got Morgan Whittaker, they've got Giabi, who's the centre mid, who is on loan from Leeds. You're like, bottom of the table. They've got some good players in them.
Yeah.
They really do have some good players in them. And you got to see that against Brentford. The way Whittaker can take that direct route on the right-hand side, cut it in, and then under that pressure, granted, Brentford could have closed him down a little bit more, but to still tuck it away is a good job.
It's a great goal. I think you also, they just sacked Rooney.
Yeah.
So you've got the manager bounce, which seems to...
Is it actually a thing, the manager bounce?
Yeah, clearly. I mean, you don't need much more evidence than that, do you? Brentford would have been thinking before that, it's going to be a time to get the cigars out.
Yeah. And I do.
Once you sack the manager, everyone goes, like nightmare. Might get that manager bounce. And I would say 7-8 times out of 10 it works.
And with Morgan Whittaker as well, they bought him for 1 million. They've just... Rumours are that they rejected a bid from Lazio for 10 million.
Sold him, I would have. He'd been gone.
So you think possibly not true? Or even if it is...
It might be someone trying to generate business.
Yeah.
Could be. I'm not saying who, but it could be someone trying to generate business. But if you buy him for 1 million and someone offers you 10, then that's good business.
Yeah.
Because he's not prolific in the Championship.
Yeah.
Right? He's not like, if we haven't got our scouting and recruitment down right, that we can't replace him. No one's irreplaceable. I mean?
Yeah.
Well, Pele and Georgie Best and people like that. There's few who are irreplaceable, but no one's really irreplaceable at that level. So we can go and get another striker.
Yeah.
If we've done our homework, let's be fair, Plymouth are a club that's going to be shopping in the lower leagues or around the leagues that they're in. So, if you sold them for 10 million, it's not going to cost you £1 million to go and get another striker.
Well, that's what I was thinking, putting kind of my football manager head on. If you're selling somebody for 10 mil, you can kind of get a good player, like a really good player from either abroad or the lower leagues for what, 2-3 mil, and then be a really good prospect.
You could take half of that money and bank it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You could take the other half, buy a couple of players, and invest into more youth, and look at your academy. You might have a player in the academy sat waiting to come in to take his position. That's the beauty of football. I think when you look at that sort of profit margin. Because you've got to look and say, well, their model isn't built. They ain't doing what Ipswich done then.
Yeah.
Come up, go up, trying to get to the Premier League. Effectively, I'm not saying they can go in the Premier League. Plymouth's a big place, but the Championship is where they're thinking, right, we need to get there, right?
Yeah, so like solidify identity there.
Yeah. So, you know, in getting to a Championship and Championship players, you know, your model hasn't been to go and buy players for 5 million quid, is it? And he's probably a record signing, I would have thought, at £1 million. You know, there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Right? So there won't be many, because, you know, Plymouth in my lifetime, and I've been retired 20 years, they've never been a Premier League driven club. I think they've had one spell in the Championship for a while.
In my lifetime, I can't really remember a time when they were in the Championship.
So I'm sure I can remember them in the Championship, but, you know, it's effectively it's what we call a selling club.
Yeah.
Right. So if someone did offer 10 million, you know, just think next season he goes off the boil and doesn't produce anything, and you can get 3 million for him.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of, and that's football. There's a lot of good stuff you can do with that 10 million if you're Plymouth Argyle right throughout the club.
And then if we're looking then at the Welsh clubs in the FA Cup, Wrexham went out in round 1 against Harrogate, who are now out because they lost to Leeds.
Yeah. Nice derby.
Nice derby. Would have been nice to Giant killing.
Kind of like the Salford Man City thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Newport went out in round 1 against Peterborough.
Yeah.
You and actually, I was giggling because I love football commentary. I think you have one of the coolest jobs in the world. Yeah. Like I've done a tiny bit of commentary there and thereabouts, and I've absolutely loved it.
Wait till I bring my app out, baby. You're gonna see something then coming soon.
It's Brewing Almanac.
Yeah.
And I love what you do. I've listened to you growing up. Like I have really fond memories of being with my grandfather at the Cardiff City games. Game would kick off. I'd sit there, be like, can't wait to watch this with my grandpa, and I just see his headphones go on because whilst he's watching the football, he's also listening to the commentary from this radio that he's had. That he's had from before I was born. And so I think you have the coolest job in the world, but it was really nice to sit in my nice warm home and watch Sheffield against Cardiff thinking, oh man, he must be freezing in Sheffield.
I was shaking like the Tin Man on Wizard of Oz. I swear to God. They say the one thing they say about commentary is don't ever get caught in the cold, because it's hard to commentate and talk while you're cold. Well, I'll let you know, Dav, it was one of the coldest nights ever, because it was it wasn't foggy on the pitch, but it was like when you go and see the mist in the air, really water vapor in the air.
When kind of from the streams of the lights and the floodlights.
And it was it was like wrapped around you. You just couldn't get away. And we were up in the gantry, which was the highest point.
Yeah.
Brilliant view of the pitch. But oh my days, my toes, I swear, from my my toes felt they just didn't have no feeling in them.
Yeah.
And then back in the day when you might remember this in the 80s, before people had central heating. Yeah. People had central heating, and you go and play on a Sunday morning, and you come home and you're still freezing cold, and your mum would say, you'd be like, oh, my fingers are killing me. And mum would say, come on, put them under my armpits and warm them up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they'd start itching.
Proper chill blaze.
Yeah, they're itching. I had that. I haven't had that for donkeys, right? I had that. We literally stayed at the Doubletree Hilton next door. Beautiful, by the way. Come out of the ground, literally walk 20 yards and you're back into reception. And I had to take obviously leave my socks on, but took my shoes off, went up to the room, put my flip-flops on. We were downstairs having a few drinks after the game. And I had that. My toes were itching and everything coming back to life. Oh, it was cold. Cold as the pole in the winter.
Didn't remind you of your time up there. Were you I don't remember Sheffield being this cold.
I do remember Sheffield being that cold. And it's even worse when I was playing, because they only had 3 stands. So the old cricket stand, the opposite where we were, it wasn't there.
It was less of a windbreak.
It was it used to blowing from the it used to be a nightmare. It used to be an absolute nightmare. But I have to say, I did love my time there. Sheffield United. I met one of my best friends, who's still one of my best friends today, Eddie Littlejohn, up there, and Harry Bassett. Great man. I don't think they've ever. Do you know when we said earlier, certain managers fit certain clubs?
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever, like Wilder fits that club, but I don't think they've ever had the same sort of levels of success. Wilder's had great success, but like between Wilder and Bassett, it's probably 20 odd years.
And you mentioned Littlejohn.
80, yeah.
Yeah. If I'm correct, and like,
He played for Plymouth.
did he?
Yeah.
So Littlejohn, your second game for Sheffield United, you came on for Littlejohn and then scored?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. My first one was against Ipswich.
Yeah.
I come on for about 5-10 minutes, but do you know why I was so happy? Because John Walk escaped the victory. You wouldn't know him, moustache. Absolute legend. No, I'm seriously, he's a legend.
Yeah.
A true legend of football. John Walk was playing, and I used to watch Escape the Victory. So to be playing against someone who was on this film that you loved, with Pele and Ozzy Adilis and everyone, Bobby Moore, and Bobby Charlton, not Bobby Charlton, Michael Caine and stuff like that. It was like it was a huge boost. But
nice.
Yeah, Ipswich was the first, and then the second one was against Spurs.
And you came on pretty quickly for Littlejohn, then scored not long after that, right?
Bullied Gary Mabbott and just stuck in the top stand. Yeah. And nice. Spurs were my team as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until I would say until I went to Chelsea, and then you kind of brainwashed into hating the opposition in you. So
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
And at the Sheffield United Cardiff game, there was a lot of interesting points to it. You had 400 appearances for Joe Riles.
Oh, I think that was Magniff. Yeah. He's been like him or loathe him, think he's a great player or not, he's been a brilliant servant to Cardiff.
That's the way I was a servant.
And as 100% there. That's what I love about him. Right?
Yeah.
He's 100% there. You know exactly what you get. And now he's like elder statesman. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'd like to see from him though, a bit more now?
What would you like to see?
I would love to see, and I think it's not just him, I think it's gone out of the game to a degree. I was having this conversation, it might have been up at Sheffield the other day, where players don't seem to argue with one another anymore. Okay.
Yeah, I get you. Kind of getting people going.
Yeah, something happens and it's like 11 people accept it. Whereas in my day, you would get your captain, like when I was at Cardiff, it was Paul Ramsey, right? Like, I used to hate him, right? But do you know what?
Yeah.
I loved him, really. It was a love-hate.
It was good for you.
Because I knew he was always trying to push everybody. Do you know what I mean? And like, you're not doing what you're capable of.
Yeah.
So
I get you. They get proper on,
Roy Keane
on your
was
back.
Like it.
Yeah.
I always say Roy Keane won titles for Man United just with his voice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's
and
like
his leadership.
A captain who's on your back and almost irritating you. Fine then. I'll go and snap him. I'll go and
That absolute.
I get you.
Yeah. So I always just say to people, like, even if I'm having a bad game, I'm still gonna have a pop at you if I think you're having a good, because we don't want both of us to be having a bad game.
Yeah.
But I'm also doing it. It's not to diss you. It's to get you fired. I'm
thinking like Jordan Henderson,
right?
Is the latest person I can imagine.
Because you're still my boy, right? You're my teammate.
Yeah,
we're together on this.
Yeah.
But I know, like, if you give me 2 or 3%, 5%, 10% more of what I know you're capable of, we'll probably win the game.
Yeah.
But I don't see that. It's almost like everyone just accepts, like, oh, well, we don't argue anymore. We don't shout. Like, you rarely see, it's rarely see players pushing and shoving each other now, right?
Yeah, I get
it happened in a game the other day. It wasn't a Liverpool game. It might have been a Man U Liverpool game. I think it was a bit of a pushing and shoving in it.
There was definitely it was an Arsenal Man United game where Havertz got
yes, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
By the new Uruguayan centre mid.
Yeah, that's it.
Cemented himself in the Premier League.
Yeah. So it's but I mean, there's no point saying, "Oh, you bring it back." It's not something to bring back. It's just it's within society, I suppose, how your upbringing is, and where like kids are a lot more fortunate now than when I was growing up, right? So back in the day, like if you was on a council estate, like you went to Primark for your trainers. Nowadays they're wearing designer knockoffs, like, you know what I mean? See kids with their Versace trainers and stuff like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you want to be. I get you. You want someone who's going to rile you up. But I quite like that because obviously, I wasn't a particularly aggressive person. But if someone was on your back, I was like, fine, they're all right. I'll do it. And you'll go you'll reach higher for that header. You'll beat that. You'll take that extra step to get to that ball quicker.
Well, that's what like playing with Paul Ramsey at Cardiff used to do. Like me and Surley with the young lads, me and Damon Searle. He was left back, I was left wing, and he used to get after us. But then when you leave Cardiff and you go to Sheffield, and you're playing at the high level because you've had this geezer like prodding you all the time. So it becomes then the norm, your standard. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Rather than one good game in 10, you're now having a good game in every other game or every 3 games, or you know what I mean? So when he's prodded you, and it at the end of the day, it's done with love, right? It's not done with hate and malice. It's done because he wants to win. He's a winner, and he's trying to drive you to win.
And I guess if he didn't think you were that good,
he wouldn't be on your case. But he wouldn't be on your case. Pena probably would have been on your case because he's like Irish and he's fire. But I still speak to him today. He's one of them people. I like. He don't say, I thank this person for my career and all, but they've definitely had an influence. In the way you think and the way you played.
Nice. And in the Cardiff-Sheffield game, some other things we saw, Perry and G, and I know I should know this as a Cardiff fan. I always like, I said NG or Ng, NG or Ng.
NG, I think it is,
yeah.
But I think someone said to me the proper pronunciation is Ng.
Ng, which it kind of makes sense.
Because I've heard other people call it Ng.
But I feel like it's 50, it's there's never been a right answer.
Him.
Yeah. I'd love to ask him.
If he comes out and says, that'll be on the almanac, by the way, name pronunciation.
That is game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perry, if you are watching this, I'll tag him in this.
Yeah.
Perry, please could you just send us a name pronunciation just so we can get it right every time.
Yeah, and then I will say it at every game.
Yeah. Because I know as a David, it's always nice when someone comes and someone pronounces your name right.
Not David. Oh, David.
Welcome to my uni experience. It was Daff.
Yeah. Or they spell Nathan with an E-N.
Nathan. But Perry played in centre mid, and at times so did Joel Bagan, who's the left back or left centre, who played a bit left centre back. What were you seeing from the cold gantry up at the top?
So it was like a back 3, we thought, which was switching into a back 4 because it was a back 3 with 2 wing backs, but then the wing backs were playing deep. And if one wing back went forward, the other wing back was sitting, so it was becoming a back 4. Okay. Then you had the 2 sitting midfielders in Rouse and NG, or Ng, sat in midfield, which always gave you like a lot of protection. Because if you think you've got a back 4 goalkeeper and then 2 sitting midfielders.
Who have both played centre mid and right back and left back.
That's 7 players, right? So, they were really solid and really hard to beat. But, at the end of the day, it was all about the one boy for me. The boy who got man of the match. That's
Cian Ashford.
It is Cian Ashford, Scored again last night.
He did? Yeah, he's good. I feel like we've known him for ages there's a good player in him.
Well, this is what I don't understand. It's something I don't understand about Cardiff City. There seems to be, and this is not Omar Riza, he's just gone in there, but there seems to be a lack of being able to spot talent. And if they do spot it, there seems to be a lack of development of that talent. Right? Right. So I'm looking at Cian and going, I said to Rob Phillips, we were on the road the other day, I said, I think he's an 8. I think he's a box-to-box player. I think he's one of those players who you sign for Bournemouth and in a couple of years' time, you see him playing centre midfield very, very well. All right? Because he's got a beautiful touch. Yeah. He's skillful. I think more skillful than people give him credit for. You might have seen that once or twice in the Sheffield United game. He's not what I call lightning quick, but he's fast enough.
Yeah.
And his anticipation and reading of the game is brilliant, which gives you an extra 2-3 yards. Right? And he can finish. And he looks like, he's got like leather lungs. He looks like he can run all day. He's a fit boy. So if I'm Rizza or I'm any manager, I'm looking at him and thinking, I can develop him into an 8 because he can score goals. He's brave. He's skillful. He's box to box. He's intelligent. He can do a bit of everything, right? Look, don't take this the wrong way, but in his running style and way, he reminds me of like a young Beckham.
Okay.
Yeah? No, Beckham was like mad freaking talented on free kicks a lot. But his energy and the way he can keep going at that level for 90 minutes. I remember when I was playing, I think it was a rumour come out. I wasn't a rumour. Well, we heard from like Man United. I think it was a Bolton at the time or Blackburn. Beckham had done like a bleep test and got up to like 19 or 20 or something ridiculous. And whether he stopped because it was enough or like he was finished, I don't know. But the bleep test, most people get to like 14, 15, 16 is like considered. And I remember, I'm sure it was like he got up to something ridiculous. And Kian reminds me of that sort of level because he's when I see him at first minute, he's running at the same sort of tempo at 90 minutes. So I look at him and think, I'd love to see him developed into an 8 position. Because when you're young, they always chuck you in the full backs or the wide positions because you can cause less damage.
Yeah.
You can just chase around people, right?
There's more space for you to be covered.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah, you're out wide, right?
Yeah.
And the goal's in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah.
It's not on the corner flag. So you're out where you can cause less damage defensively. You just learn your position and what have you. But I think I would be developing him because he's got great anticipation, like I said. And if you're a midfielder, winning that second ball is so important. I'd love to see him as developed as an.
He's got that brain as well, isn't he?
He's got the brain. He's got it. He tick, 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 tick.
Yeah. Do you know what? I actually totally agree with you.
And there was talk about him going out on loan. And I'm like, well, Cardiff have been struggling.
Didn't need it.
All season, right? And this lad broke into the first team last season. How is he not being developed into this, like, you should have 4 or 5 stalwarts in Cardiff City now from their academy.
Yeah. Because Joel Colwell left Cheltenham Town because Cardiff recalled him. I thought he could have even had a chance because he was Cheltenham Town's almost Cheltenham Town's first pick every time, scoring goals, and he's not number 10 or he's not a striker.
Yeah, he's just a
brute. Yeah, like especially for like a 19-year-old. And then they've loaned him out. They've basically gone, right, he's done really well in League 2. Let's test him out in League 1. And then if he does it, then he must be contending for that spot. But as you say, like, Ashford's doing nothing wrong to suggest that he should be going out. And like, that's a player that we kind of need. And he's, as we see yesterday, he's scoring goals. And he's so incredibly young. And we've seen him score goals for the under 20.
I think that's the problem with the club at the moment, Cardiff. Like, just sitting in as an owner and saying, I'm putting money in, like, and I know he's got other people he's relying on to do the work, but like the board and like they don't see these things, right? And then you wonder why the crowd, they're announcing 16,000, there's about 10,000 there, and the atmosphere is dead. So I say it's dying on his feet. There's things that you have to happen automatically, and should be happening automatically.
And youngsters do bring excitement. Like and especially in the Championship.
And everyone loves their own. Yeah, that's why they sing the song.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right? He's one of our own.
Yeah, because I remember growing up and watching the Championship, there was a thing that changed the game for me in the Championship, which I enjoyed a bit more than the Premier League at some point, because the Premier League was so like regimented with just talent. The Championship, you just see these sparkles of young players who would turn up and just tear it apart out of nowhere. And like the people who kind of come to mind are like, I remember like Ricardo Vaz-Tê when I was younger, just turned up at Barnsley and was untouchable, like Tom Ince at Blackpool when they when Blackpool, just before they got promoted, was like I think DJ Campbell was
Joe Ledley.
Joe Ledley as well. Like Rambo as well.
Come out of Cardiff City, Rambo, and then just become absolute unbelievable players.
And I think that's the beauty of the Championship.
But that's the beauty of football. Like if you're looking at Man United, Man City, we spoke about Cole Palmer and the young players at Man City earlier, right? Mm-hmm. That's I always say it's your bread and butter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, get rid of your academy.
Yeah.
There's no point in having it.
Yeah.
Right? There's no point in having it. At the moment, Cardiff are in a real fortunate position where they've got 4 or 5, maybe 6 players in and around who've either made their debut or have been in the first team over the last 2 years. Now I'm like, right, what's the plan behind the scenes? Right. So if he's out on loan, who's watching his progression? Right.
Yeah.
Are you just loaning him to a club to say play, or are you going to that club and going, let's have a look at how they play. Let's have a look at the manager. Let's have a look at the board, the director of football. Let's see how they do things. Right. That's a good environment for my player to grow up and learn in.
Mm.
And if you ain't saying that, which they're not, and why do I know they're not? Because the environment back at Cardiff is nowhere near of what I've just said the club you're sending the player to should be. That's what you should be looking at. But you can't be looking over there and saying, oh, that's not a good environment if my environment is so all over the place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's there's a lot at Cardiff City that needs to change. And I go right from chairman, CEO, board, owner, until that sort of changes, I don't think much will change at Cardiff City. Mm-hmm. I think a year, Mehmet Talma come out and saying a lot of things like, we're trying to do this or we're doing that. And I'm like, if you don't know what you're doing or supposed to be doing, like, go and ask people if you're not sure. I mean, or take a model of a club, a successful one, and it doesn't have to be Man City. You could look at Brentford. You could look, well, Brentford got rid of their academy, but you could look at Brighton then and go, right, they were behind us. Like in 2009, I think they almost went out the league. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, how have they been able to, like, elevate themselves to the Premier League and stay there? Brentford, stay there. Bournemouth, stay there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you've got all these traditional clubs like Stoke, Cardiff, QPR, Leeds United, West Bromwich Albion, struggling in the Championship, Norwich. Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you've got that's why I think the Norwiches, the Cardiffs, the West Broms, why are times so tough? Because you've got 2 or 3 clubs now who've gone into the Premier League who should be relegation fodder. Yeah. And have become Notts Forest, Brighton. Yeah. Bournemouth. All of a sudden, boom. You know, look where Newcastle were 6-7 years ago.
Yeah. They've almost like clogged up the middle of the Prem.
Well, like Newcastle, top of the Prem.
Yeah, right? yeah.
But Forest, top of the Prem. But what it means is, like, you know, the 3 that go up will probably come down because the weaker links that used to be weaker links are now so much stronger.
Yeah. And that's something I was going to talk to you as well about with, so Swansea and Southampton. Swansea lost 3-0 to Southampton. Yeah. So quite convincingly. Yeah. Kamaldeen Sulemana, and then 2 from Aloni from Man City. Tyler Diblin.
Yeah, good player.
Really good player. Yeah. Has that...
Another Man City player.
Yeah, I know. Another...
Like you ain't got enough.
Yeah, like another left-footed, right-sided player, like your Cole Palmer, like your McAtee. Really good player, like has a swag to him as well. Yeah. I don't like the fact he puts his socks all the way down. That's not for me. Yeah. But he's way better than I am, so I have no opinion on like, what do I know? Yeah. So in that sense then, is there a massive separation between the Prem and the Championship? Because you looked at some of the, like, Southampton struggling, they're almost certainly going to go down, but they have players like Ramsdale, English international. They have Harwood Bellis, who recently got a call up and scored on his debut. You've got like Kyle Walker-Peters, who has been around a good Tottenham, then kind of stuck around at Southampton. Diblin as well, who looks like a solid player. Obviously won't be there for a particularly long time, but is there that big a separation between the Prem and the Championship?
No, I don't think so. Because if there was, then you wouldn't be able to get teams like Bolton and Brighton going in and doing so well. A lot of it is your model. As a football club, your identity, your philosophy, all these things, right? And a lot of, like, I hate to say it, but you can't look and go, Everton is a well-run club. Everton have been in this relegation zone for 30 years. I mean, they've not gone down, but it seems to be the same. It's just like on repeat. It's like on a loop with Everton, right? So, I mean, they had the Moyes years where they would, I would say, middle of the road.
And now they got the Moyes years back.
And the Moyes is back. But, I think if you're looking at, like you'd say Brighton's a well-run club, right?
Yeah. And Brentford.
Brentford's a well-run club. You'd have to say Ipswich a well-run club, right? Because they were League One.
Yeah.
Champ, Prem, they've gone like... So, and it's not only success... Like, successful clubs are well-run. There'll be other clubs who are well-run who are not successful. But then it's usually, we're trying to get the team right, the balance of the team, or the manager and the team right. There's so many moving parts that you got. That's what I say. That link from player, even academy, right through, all the way up, first team, all the way up to the head honcho, is so important. And it has to be aligned. Now, it's never going to be perfectly aligned. But there has to be an understanding where if I'm the manager and you're the director of football, I might say, oh, well, I want that player. And you might say, no, we don't really want him. Right? I've got to be able to compromise then.
Okay.
And vice versa.
And what does a compromise between a director?
Well,
is it like...
if we're not having that
player... a different player then?
Yeah, if we don't have that player, you need to show me something that is an equivalent, or you think that could be as good, or because even if I buy that player, it doesn't mean say he's going to be successful. He could be an absolute bomb. Yeah. Right? And it's no good you then coming to me as the technical sporting director and say, well, that player you wanted, he was a waste of time, blah, 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 blah. Shit happens in football.
Yeah.
Right? Look at Man United. Right? Signing player after player after player. Boom, dive bomb. Boom, dive bomb. Cardiff, we was very similar. When was the last time we bought someone, or someone come through and you sold them for like a massive amount of money?
Not even massive. Like Kiefer's in there.
You say the lad McGuinness.
Yeah, to Luton for 10 mil.
And then Rob gets sacked 6 months later.
Yeah.
Because they're struggling massively. So you might be, hence my point, you might be doing things right, because Luton have had to do things right to get up to the Premier League and form. And sometimes it just doesn't work out for no reason. You know what I mean? So, and McGuinness is doing all right there.
He's always a decent player.
Yeah. Again, I would look at him as someone who I think could have been developed more and gone to a Premier League club for 25 million.
Yeah. And he was still really young as well. What, 22, 23?
I would have said work on his distribution. Yeah. Was one thing. And
his
work on his first 10 yards with his pace was another thing. And then just game understanding, leadership, how you talk, how you organise, these things are hugely important. But yeah, good to get 10 million for him. But that's me. I'm a believer in, right, if someone's going to pay 10 million for him, and he's young, impressionable, why can't I make a good impression on him and make him a £25 million player?
Yeah. I liked McGuinness. I thought he was a really good player.
Nice lad too.
No, nice. He always seemed pretty level-headed as well. So looking at those clubs who you think are doing a good job. So you're saying the teams that take your fancy in terms of being a well-run club, you like in Ipswich, you like in Brentford, and you like in Brighton. They're all nice.
That's Fulham.
Fulham. Okay. Yeah.
You know.
And I'll be honest with Fulham, I see some of the players they signed, and I thought, I don't know. Like they're not like being critical. Like you looked at like Pereira struggled to get into the Man United team. You had
But can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though. So if you're a director of football, you don't say to the manager, I'm not signing him because he's been rubbish at Man United. I would say to you, Rashford's been rubbish at Man United. Anthony's been rubbish at Man United. Sancho's been rubbish at Man United. I could give you a list.
Yeah.
It might be that we need to take him out of their environment, put him in our environment, and he flourishes.
So he must have been going through that academy for a reason.
You don't rate him because he's had a bad time at that club.
Because you look at those and
like Fred.
You got me. Yeah, I've been rumbled. You are. I get what you're saying, because you look at like the players they've signed in terms of your Pereiras. Like, they obviously were signed for a good reason. You're like Alex Iwobi as well. Was one of those players. Like
Harry Wilson.
Harry Wilson is phenomenal player.
Yeah.
So I get, and then you look at Raul Jimenez. He had that
terrible injury, and everyone thought he was gone, me included, right?
Yeah.
But now I see him heading the ball, and I don't think he's back, right? But that's what I suppose lends to the point of earlier when we said about giving players time.
Yeah.
So, like, credit to Fulham. Like, you know,
it does seem they've nurtured players in a way that who necessarily haven't had the best experience.
Yeah.
And now they're at a good club. Like, it must be quite fun playing at Fulham. That must be quite a nice time.
I actually noted Marco Silva before he came to the Premier League for Cardiff City. I remember Rob Phillips asking me once. Brilliant young manager. I was watching him. I was scouting him.
Nice. I think they've done something well, and they also, considering Fulham, you do look at Fulham and nice Fulham. They've got a bit of to them. They've got a bit of like that
lovely little cottage.
Yeah. I would honestly, if I was a footballer and I thought, I'd like a nice time, I do look at Fulham and go, be nice to play.
And it's right next to Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's literally,
and then just watch the Chelsea games after.
It's literally like, I think the back of Stamford Bridge. You've got probably Fulham Broadway and then the club. It's literally a stone's throw. So it's a great place for football.
It's a beautiful, beautiful stadium as well.
Yeah, lovely. And they've just done a new stand, so it looks $1 million.
And then I know, to kind of round this off, I know you're a big fan of the FA Cup. You love the FA Cup.
I love FA Cup, yeah. I love being able to... I love the fact that you can play against someone from top level.
Yeah.
And genuinely, on the day, right, you can have someone in your ranks that is as good as anybody on the other side. And if that player performs, or those players perform, you've got a chance. Hence, Brentford.
Yeah. And if you're Cardiff or Plymouth, who have gone through, yet you're in the relegation...
Yeah.
Are you thinking, right, we have to go for this FA Cup? Or are you thinking, this is a lot?
There's two ways of looking at it, Dav, and I think you're nailing it, right? The two ways of looking at it is, this is a distraction, let's get back to the league. Or if the further we go, then we're winning games, this is a confidence booster. The former... This is a distraction, let's get back to the league. If your league performances have been shite for the last however many games, that's not something you're looking to get back to very quickly. So it's a bit of a relief, and there's no pressure, because if you lose, like, you're not going to win the FA Cup if you're Cardiff. Stranger things have happened, I know, but it's highly, highly, highly unlikely. But you can gain confidence from beating certain teams who are same league as you or above you. And if that happens and you get to a quarterfinal, a semi-final, the buzz around the place, the fans travelling or coming to the home stadium, selling out against, if you get a big draw against like a Tottenham or something like that, it's magnificent, right? So it can really lift you. And then people say, but what about the come down and then go, no, you just carry floating. That's the job of the management and the staff and the players and your captain, everything. You just keep floating on that crest of a wave, and hopefully it takes you into some good league form. So for me, Cardiff being in the FA Cup this season at this point is a very good thing. And that's it for another show. Thanks for listening. Real Talk, All Sport. Myself and Daff. It's been a great show. Not sure about Fred, mind. But still. And listen, can we have like British player next time for your Hall of Fame?
I will.
Because we want them, we want the...
I'll bring a Brit. I thought I'd bring this one in because it might be the only time I can get away with it.
Yeah.
But
Or ask the fans to chuck some names in.
I'll bring you some of the names.
We can then debate whether we think...
I've already got a list, so I'll bring them.
Okay, someone you think isn't, and you might think I am.
Okay.
I think they're a legend. Or you can just give me the name and then we'll discuss on the podcast.
And we can discuss if they deserve to be in the Dad Matheson Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great show.